So, welcome to the first official masterclass. I upgraded the concept since the last video. I'm gonna do masterclasses. How dignified. Now, when I started out as a young photographer and you came across a certain technique, something you went, oh wow, that looks really good when I do this and that, you probably had a tendency to sort of like keep it to yourself. Okay. So I'm going to dive in and actually take a concept which I actually started developing with a few other photographers and then perfect it. I would say perfect it. And this is the thing you will see on my screen right now, which is the pre-edit from a photo session, and we're going to finish it up. But this is actually a very technical photo, and what is interesting about this photo is that it's actually 5 photos. And what is interesting is that you can't normally get people to look and stare right into the wall and look so infatuated and intrigued as these 5 people are doing. How come? They're not looking at a wall, they're looking at themselves. But it's not a mirror. It's actually not like this at all. Let's take it from the very beginning. And we'll do a little bit of something here. You will see that certain people disappear. And it's just all black. This is how we start. And then we start by doing this. Sorry. We start by doing this. Now actually we start by doing this, which is the raw edit, so it's not perfect yet, but it's I do this thing in the studio that I show a raw edit and then I finish just basically so the customer can accept that this is the direction we're going. And in this raw edit you can see there's actually some details missing, and of course we now have to put those in again. You can see the nose is actually a little bit see-through because I've actually taken off too much in my pre-edit, but we'll clean that up now. But the magic is that these people have been done one by one, and then that creates this illusion. And let's step it back one more time because I need to actually punch in. How do we do this? We do this by he has contact, eye contact, to this lovely lady, and then she has contact to him. Could be also be one of the others, but I often do it like this, that they have contact to, and then one has to pay a little bit of one has to actually have the finished picture a little bit in one's mind while doing it, because you can see that the eye direction has to be that they are all going, see if I can show it with the mouse, they're all sort of going towards this point over here, and we are missing of course this little fella here. So we put it, the contact fixed point is out here. Can you see where I'm moving my mouse around? This is probably where they are looking. Okay, so one has to have that a little bit in mind when doing the picture, but one can also adjust it a little bit. Like let's say that I have one of the people not being completely correct, then I could also adjust it, so I could have this person move around and to adjust a little bit. So it's not critical. But let's just go back here. So this is the pre-edit. It has been approved by my customer, and it's ready to go. It's ready for the final process, And this is actually a combination of 5 50K pictures. So this is a 100K picture. Let's actually just punch it up to see how big is it actually. This is get the actual figure here. It is 10.812 times 728. Nah, it's 80 megapixel picture. So it's 80 million pixels, this one here, which is pretty cool. So of course we also assume, which is very important when you're dealing with such a high resolution thing, that it's all sharp. Let's just check it for good measures, because this is important. You can see here there's a line down here. This is an error, of course, we need to correct, because it's just a pre-edit. But you can see here that it's pretty crisp. It has to be that, because if one of them is crisp and the rest is not, it's not going to be so good. Of course, there are things we can do, but it needs to be pretty crisp, and it is pretty crisp, so that's all good. So it's ready to go. So I have done this with generations. I once did that with I've done it actually a few times with 5 generations. You know, you have a great grandchild. I mean, you basically had 5 women, and they're all being the mother of the next one. That's pretty cool, and that's very interesting, because you can, as you can with this one, you can look at the genetics. You can see the merger of the noses, how this works out, which is quite interesting. You can see that the mother's nose is coming through here very nicely, and the guy has a little bit of his father's nose, and probably merged a bit with his mother's nose, and that's quite interesting. Anyway, when you put it together, not only do you have to sort of like make sure they look at sort of the same thing, but you also have to make sure that the height is correct. Okay? So when I do the editing of these people, I actually have them sit in front of me, and then I adjust the height. I have the mom and dad sit and in the studio, and then I pre-edit while I look at them, and I say, okay, adjusting. I set now, and then I take the mother between, and I have the oldest son sit down, and we do the adjusting of the mother to the oldest son. And the interesting thing is that you might have 2 people apparently being different in height, but when they sit down, they are the same. So height as we stand up is not the same as when we sit down. That's a thing you find out. So one actually has to do, as they're sitting down, one has to have them sit down by each other, next to each other, and then you have to adjust this picture here. And the basic picture actually have you have to adjust the height and the size of the heads, and you have to adjust for the perspective, because of course they sit so they go deeper and deeper and deeper into the picture. The youngest son is sitting the furthest away. But you have to do that. It's a bit of a training thing. You look at the people, and you look at what you've edited, and you look at the picture, and of course I also have there is another picture. Let's see if I can find that, because when I photograph some people, I would get to know them quite well in an hour's time, or maybe more. But I actually, before I did this picture, I did another photo of them, and I'm gonna make a separate video after this one, because it's a completely different style. But it's interesting because in this picture, which is coming up now, I hope, I'm opening now, you can see it's the same people, but here seen from the front. So I have a pretty good idea about how they scale to each other. So one has to have the same feel when you look at this, okay? There's two very different pictures, but they actually wanted both of them, so we're going to edit them, both of them, and they're very different. So that should be an interesting challenge. As always, I put the black and white on top because that means that we don't make a sort of like make a little bit red or green, because the different adjustment levels would probably change the black and white color to a shade of green or red or blue, so we don't want to do that. So we put black and white, the level black and white on top. Now I'm actually editing in the Photoshop version 10, which is old. It's really old. Let's have a look at that. About Photoshop. So this is 2008, and today we have 2023. So how come 15 years? Why come? What is that? Is it because I'm old and I'm using old software? No, it's because I use a okay fast computer, so it can handle this being 5 times 50 megabytes. So we're looking at 250 million pixels, which this right now is what we are handling, and that takes a lot of computer power. But if I also had a program which was really big and massive, then my computer would be really starved for power. So I actually use software which I really know, and then I use computer. That gives a very good match for me. I don't want to go with the latest software. Also, I know that the latest edition of Photoshop can do a lot of AI stuff, and I can actually sort of have it edit, do all my work, completely AI thing, but not, because what I do is very precise. I don't do anything. I have a thing. I don't want to be able to spot my own editing. It should be completely flawless. It should be impossible for me to spot. That's my criteria. It has to be perfect, and it has to be perfect in this close with this many details. So it is just setting the bar very, very high, so you know what is it I would consider the quality I'm willing to accept for myself. And that is that in this amount of details, my hands should be invisible. There should be no proof of editing, but it still will be edited. So that's a very high standard. And let's just go with that. That was a lot of warming up. So I hope you forgive my warming up. I'm probably gonna talk a lot. So now I'm gonna prepare for editing. I'm gonna remove some of the start stuff I've done, and then I'm gonna go all the way back and just see. So here we started, and we still have some this is done by a layer here with the father on, and I'm actually gonna put him back in a little bit more. So, sorry. So we're going to put this back. I want it to be that it's for sure. You see, you have to have that his nose is not see-throughable. Is that a word? See-throughable. Possible to look through. And I actually taken some of the guy's beard. How horrible. The customers did not even see that. How big is this guy's beard? It's like this. It was all gone. That's actually horrible. I did that and nobody noticed. Okay. But it should be close. That's fine. Okay. It needs to be sort of a little bit the same feel all the way down here. I'm basically making the blackness, which is still there, is going to give the illusion of casting a shadow on the mother. So that's all good. But we don't want it to be that one can see through. So therefore we want to put it in again. Just a little bit. To see that it's all perfect now. Good stuff. Yeah, that's all good. And of course one can keep correcting stuff, but there is a certain point where it is not needed to correct anymore, and it's very important to know that place. So let's just there's a little bit more needed down here. Looks sort of the same now. Let's see if there's a little bit of his hair missing also. Looks pretty nice now. Now, I already know what the dimensions are going to be for this photo. It's going to be 1 meter times 70. No? What was it now? 90 by 70, I think it was. That's right. So, that means we might have to move these people closer to each other. Let's just test how big is this photo. It's been ordered now in 7 centimeters high and 90 centimeters wide. So I put it in wrong here, so I'll press this little thing so they change. And we go here and say, oh my god, they're going to be squeezed more together. Okay, it's not a big problem, but it's something we have to deal with. I think before I squeeze them a bit together, I will just clean up the things here in the mask. Let me remove these things here. They will look bad on them, and see if there is places where I've removed some of her actual details. Let's go a little bit closer. I can see the nose is not completely there. Oops, wrong. So I will make very sure that there is no details missing, and I'll basically have to do that with the whole family. And at this point in some videos you'll have that will say, okay, we fast forward to the next one, but I assume that my audience is not necessarily all professional photoshoppers, Some might have already caught on what is it he's doing, but some might say, I have no idea what he's doing, but it sort of look okay. But what we're working with is the opacity, how much there is of this person here. And one could easily do an error. One could make a ghost out of. Let's just demonstrate what a ghost would look like here. If we look at the mother now, and you can see that she becomes all ghosty and can disappear completely. But what needs to be in the photo here needs to be 100%. So, and we can actually see that this looks a bit fake, but we'll get to that. Okay, so I'll do this craftsmanship of just making sure that the mask is that it's pretty much 100%, and then we just take them one by one. Whoops. 100%, that's a little bit too much there. And I already know I'm removing a little bit too much here because the effect of the shadow should remain. Here we have this, and we have to remove some of this, and if you do it too good, it actually doesn't look right. There has to be a little bit of there's an error coming from the previous one. I can see that here. Okay, so a lot of this work is I wouldn't say boring, but what is it I'm doing here? Am I deleting not the mask? I'm deleting him. I have it placed here and it should be placed here. So I have to rewind a bit and go up to, I want to be absolutely sure that I can put it all in. So I will now press the mask very precise and put him in again, and this time make sure it's 100%. Oh, I just want to see this. I actually had removed a lot of his glasses. They were not there. The rim of the glasses had completely disappeared. So there were surprisingly many errors, and it still looked good. But we're just gonna make it look perfect. And oops. So these lines will look very horrible if they survive the editing. So they really need to go. This line up in the air is not so bad. This is probably over here. There is this line up there, but it's probably going to disappear as soon as I put the pitch black on behind. So I don't think that would be noticeable. But if I was very thorough, then I would say, okay, it's probably coming all the way back from there. No, not. What about here? No. What about here? No. Where is that coming from? Here. But if it just looks fluffy like this, then as soon as I put this black thing on, it will be for sure gone. Okay, so last is this guy here. And there's something up there. Where is that coming from? There. So at this point, we're pretty cool. Now, I'm looking at these two here, and I'm wondering if their height, maybe not so much their height, but the sizes of their face is actually correct. I did the pre-editing in the studio, but I'm not 100% sure that I got it right. So I need to actually have a look at this photo here. So what we're looking at is this. I'm gonna just take the from where his head is got a little bit of hair on there, so maybe something like that. And he sits a little bit to the front, but let's just I'm just gonna copy that, and it's just gonna go and put it over here to find out. And I'm gonna make it. He's sitting a little bit further back, but not much. And I'm wondering if this little one actually has a rather big head. I think so. I think he has. Okay. That is interesting. So, that's fine. Because he looks big here. So I'm actually probably correct on that one. I'm just gonna let it stay like that. Okay, so I will now be looking at how does this shade falling on the next to person look. Does it look right? This is this shading here. And you see it looks wrong on the mother because it wouldn't follow this. It looks fine here. The shade the mom is casting on the oldest, this looks actually fine, the shading here. But this in the hair looks completely wrong. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a broad, big, and then just try to paint it in to see if I can increase the shade so it looks more natural. Okay, now so the task is now, see, this is where we are gonna end up. Have they're gonna be squeezed a little bit because it's gonna be 90 centimeters times 70 centimeters, this piece of art, and right now it's a little bit longer. It's because these guys already have dramatic drip break. These guys already have something hanging on the walls which has the dimension of 70 by 90 centimeters. So we're gonna help integrate it better by providing the same size. So now I've taken the 4 people here. I'm gonna move them back a little bit just to see if it, because she has lovely hair, but we don't need all that hair, it's not necessary, so we can squeeze in a little bit there. Did I change the height? Let's just try again. Oh, wrong. Here we go. So I select the 4 ones and I press my shift button down, because then it sort of it's easier to move it here. And you can see her ears is a little bit too dark now, but we'll fix that. It still looks okay. So, oh, sorry, I lifted it up there. So I need to move it a little bit more carefully. We want her ear and a little bit of the hair, like that. You see, it's actually also making the parents closer, so it's not a bad idea to put them close together while it still looks natural, because it looks like they're really squeezed up against each other. We like that. We like closeness. So let's take the next three and squeeze them a little bit this direction, just a little bit. Maybe not so much more than that. So I've sort of said to the customer, it will be fine on 90 times 70 centimeters. And of course, that's always a chance to take. If you promise something about a certain photo and you're not sure whether or not that will actually be so. But I have to be prepared too that ultimately, if this would look wrong somehow, then I would be prepared to call the customer and say, look, I was wrong. I get the feeling now that these four people are looking at the same, and he's looking a little bit lower. So I'm gonna actually take this little guy here and have him lift his eye just a little bit. I mean, he's almost lying down. There's a limit to how much I can do that. But it's also okay that he's sort of leaning up against his brother. So I guess I can put it here. They're very close together, these two kids. That looks kind of nice. Okay, so I'm noticing that the lightness here on the faces, he's definitely darker. It's not so much light, so I'm gonna... Sometimes, when do you edit something? Well, you can wait until you're doing something, or you can sort of say, I'll do it right away. And I'm just gonna do it right away because I've seen it and I'm gonna do something to it. So I'm just gonna use curves here and bring it up just a touch, so it looks sort of the same. And I'm wondering, did I do it right? So I'm just gonna take the blending style off the curves and just go a little bit back and forth until I think it's completely perfect. It looks about right here. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it here. That's pretty cool. So I'm just gonna test it. I'm gonna put my the shades here now is wrong here because I moved them closer together, but that's expected. So now I'm gonna test my crop idea, if that's gonna work. I can go quite close to the dad, and I think this is gonna be fine. Something like here. Now, I noticed two things. There is some, this is probably gonna be fine. So I'm gonna, before I do that, I'm gonna do a little bit of a change, but I'll do that. I will now take these. I'm happy with this, so I'm gonna take all these and I'm just gonna merge them. Okay, and you might think, oh, that's not good, because then you lose some possibility of going back, but I'm gonna retain that. I'm just gonna make a copy of this, and then I'm gonna go back before I merged, and I'm gonna put this on top. So, but that moved. It was because, why just that, what happened there? Paste. Select. I'm just gonna do it one more time, and I'm gonna select the background also. I think I didn't do that. So I'm gonna merge it with the background, because the background is, I'm gonna say copy, and I'm gonna go back before I merged and put it on top here, and then it should move. No, that's fine. So now I have my under here over on the right side, I still have all my layers. So if, for instance, the parents all of a sudden complain about, well, this is completely wrong because something or other. If that happened, then I could go back and adjust something. I'm not assuming this to be the case, but so I'm gonna go with this one now. But this layer here over here is something I can do anything to, and it will not influence my possibility to go back and actually re-edit the thing. It's very important for me to be able to go back and re-edit. And right now I've already discovered a reason why I should go back and re-edit, because I discovered something I need to correct right away. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to go on the mom's ear. Mom's ear is way too dark. It doesn't look natural. So we're going to help her a little bit, with some light. I'm going to go to the layer of dad here, and I'm going to make it, because his nose would not make this, would not cast this kind of shade on her. So we're going to remove some of this. We're going to go here. Looks much better. And actually we're gonna do a little bit of, there will also be something on her hair, there'll be some light here, and there'll be some, maybe a little bit more light up here. Let's see what would happen, a little bit like this. That could be a little bit, maybe down here. No, that was too much. Okay, so we go, but here, for sure there will be some light coming here. It will be like this. We'll just take this, and then his beard would cast a little bit of a shadow. Not much. Maybe like this. This looks better, more natural. I'll just double check if it's looking okay. I think there'll be more shadow here also, so I will, this is the mom casting a shadow, so I'm gonna put a little bit. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks better, but I'll just want to do it again. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so we check onwards. Light in his hair there, because these highlights don't look right in his hair. So we're gonna have a check, see if we can do some wrong direction. Yeah, that's better. These details here are minute, but that was too much. And you can see now I've done something, a horrible thing, big error, which would actually completely make this picture be a flop. Let's go further, if you can see this, so you can spot it. Already seen it, but you can see it here clearly. The hair is now going through his chin. That will be a major error, so that needs to be corrected right away. And I'm gonna put that back. You see, that flop would have ruined the whole picture. Now there's some places where the clothes is doing a little bit of hunching here, and I noticed 3 places in the photo where it does that, and I need to correct that. It's actually the cloth who's doing weird things. There's also one here. Looks like a little bump on his shoulder, on his back, and it's very easy to correct. But it has to be corrected in the next. The reason why the coloring looks wrong here is this is going to end up in black and white. If I had to do it in color, I would have done it differently. But as soon as we put it in black and white, it looks natural. But it's because the colors here have been degraded a little bit in the editing process. But it's not important because it's going to become black and white, and then it will be perfect. So we're not concerned about that. Okay. So now I am finally where I was just a moment ago, I thought, and we're ready to sort of like make this flattening process again. We select all these layers here and include the background. We merge the layers and make a copy. Control C I'm editing in Windows. I know there's a lot of graphic people who are Mac people, but then I started Windows and I never made the transition to Apple. I like Windows because I feel at home there. It's not necessarily better or worse. I have no idea really, but I know Windows very well, so I know the shortcuts and so on. Okay, so I made Control Alt. That's to select everything, and then you say copy, and then I think I actually also know some of the Apple shortcuts. Not so important, but it's very cool to know the shortcuts because then you can just go, okay, I'll go back to there, and then I put it here, and then I press Control V, and then the layer copy is there now. So all is good now. Now I'm gonna fix some of these bumps in the clothes, and I'm gonna go to Liquify. Now Liquify is a very interesting tool, and it works wonders in terms of correcting all sorts of things. You can make somebody thinner, and you can make somebody lose their double chin and so on. Right now my computer is struggling a little bit. It's a big picture. This is 80 million pixels it's having in here, so it's struggling a little bit. Now we're gonna look at this here, and these are minor things. Nobody would ever complain if I just left them, but I'm just gonna put them right because it's easy to do, and I have 3 places where I saw you can hardly call them errors, but they're just small points of irritation, and people will not bring it up because they don't know it's so easy to correct. You can see here that so there's a lot of things I do and don't really tell my clients because I know you can do it, and they don't need to know that I've done it, because it's not really important, but it's just small things which make it look better. And the last one over here was down here, and just gonna straighten that up. It's just the clothes bulging a bit, and going here. Gonna put this up a little bit. It doesn't have to look completely perfect, but it doesn't have. It should just not. It should not catch my eye because it's not important. This is one of my criteria when I edit is I don't want to have my eyes drawn to something which is really not important. So this is one thumb rule which I use when editing is, what should be edited? Well, what distracts me should be edited. And now I'm probably satisfied. Now these are small things, but as this is gonna stay on this family's wall probably for the rest of their lives, I might as well just correct them, because that will give that extra, I really like this photo. And so I'm removing small bits which would otherwise make the value for these people who are going to get this photo less. I will just remove that. My computer is struggling. Returning liquify result in an hour or two. Yeah, right. Okay. At this point I might get concerned because it's going really slow, and I'm praying my computer is not in a crash mode. It's very rare that it does that, but it brings my attention to as soon as I've done this step here and it's completed the liquefying, it's because it's doing all the liquefying steps I've done. So it's actually doing I don't know if you noticed it, but I did probably 10 moves, and it's all a complete editing of the photo. So it's doing these consecutively, and it's returning the final result in a moment, we hope. But it's a very good thing now and again to save one's work, and sometimes it goes wrong. And imagine that we've gotten this far and then I would have to start from the very beginning. That would be horrible. So we don't hope that. So, first thing to be done is save. So now we are on the save path as well. All good. Okay, so now I'm gonna shape this up further. I'm gonna actually do the cropping, and I'm gonna say how much do we. I'm not gonna place it straight in the center. You can see that if I place it so that there is just as much difference of length to the back head of the father and the front. The nose tip of the little fella in the front, then it will be in the middle. But I'm not going to do that, because where they're looking is very important. It's very important to actually, this part of the picture where they're looking is actually very important. So I want to give room for imagination. So I'm gonna make this decision that I'm gonna cut it here, and we do that now. Whoosh. So now we're moving into the final parts of the editing. There's a step here now where we'll go and check out, is anything needed to make these beautiful people more beautiful? And this is very minor things. And bear in mind that, as I said before, I would only edit so it can't be seen. For this I will use, right now I'll use the opacity of around 50, and then I will do a little bit of cloning, very little bit, just a little bit, just where he shines a little bit too much or has a pimple or whatever. This goes for all of them. I'm distracted by this. I don't know what it is, so it just has to go. Skin structure is fine. There is some piece of skin here. Oh, I'm doing something weird. Let's go back. But this little speck of light is too much, so I just dimmed it a little bit. We continue. There's a little bit something down here. It also catches my eyes. Not very important at all. And just bring it down to. There's a little bit of skin shine. If there was a makeup artist, she or he would probably just done what I do now, but I can do it much better. Sometimes actually, if people have used too much makeup, it's a problem for me, because I can, that sounds funny, but I can do makeup on certain parts of the face better than a makeup artist can do. So I'm trying to get this just to disappear, but not much, just a little bit. And I see a little bit of shine in the section here, and I'm gonna it's not because it's wrong, it's just because maybe it should be a little bit less. Then I can see there's a scar where she probably had a ring or something in the nose, very usual. And I will do this. I will not remove it. I made it worse, kinda. I will make it like this, so it's less. But it's not really. My criteria is if it's there in a week's time, 2 weeks time, I'm gonna let it stay, even though but the light could have been different. I mean, the light didn't actually have to catch that, put a little bit of a spot there. So I'm just gonna make this a little bit less, but not make it disappear. I'm just gonna make it a little bit less. I don't want it to be so eye-catching. And here's a teenager. A teenager does have skin issues normally, and teenagers love me because I remember being a teenager. My God, I used to stand in front of the mirror and try to sort out these irritating, annoying small pimples, and I guess every teenager is doing this, trying to find a way to squeeze a pimple and not explode the head, and meaning explode the pimple but don't explode the head. I mean, don't make it look completely, because you can obviously make your head look horrible if you do something to pimples too much, and you can look completely like you've been in war. I have had that. I remember going to school and feeling like, oh my God, I mean, hope nobody looks at me. But what I do here is just, I just want to see what did I do wrong here. There is this thing that if you are doing something and you think you might have done something which was not completely right, you can always do this. You can sort of press that and say, okay, so what's there? Pimples. What's there? Pimples. And is there anything else disappearing? Anything which is a feature? Then of course you should make it right. So it's just pimples you're removing, and you're maintaining the structure of the skin, so it doesn't look wrong. Teenagers might appear that they are indifferent, especially guys, maybe on how they look, but that's not true. I mean, I remember being really concerned myself about how I looked, and so I think he will be. He's not very attacked by these skin issues as such. I've seen much worse, but he will probably be the only one who noticed what I've done here, because it's probably some other his brothers might also notice it, but nobody would notice that he had something like this here, because that's so not important. I don't remove these freckles here and so on. They're obviously freckles because they don't have an inflammation. You can see here there is, if you go close, you can see there is no inflammation rim. On a good juicy pimple there is an inflammation, and that makes it something you should remove. You can sometimes, at kids at his age here, they sometimes have issues around the mouth also. I don't know if it's hormonal, but it looks a little bit different when they do have it, like this, so we also do a little bit on that, but we don't want to make it completely artificial, so we just do a little bit. We check now. All right. It is now approached where I will say, okay, skin issues done. It should be so that you can see that the skin gets older and older. I actually find that very charming. Let's put the black and white on so we can really enjoy it, because I like that here there is no, almost no features. There's a little bit of a start here, you can see that. Like he has a little bit of a start here or something also. I've just noticed that there is a little bit of a skin thing there. But these things I'm removing right now, I wouldn't call these editing errors. They're just like overkill, I guess. But he has these features more deep within the skin now. He's also starting to get these up here. So it goes quite fast, and that's very interesting. I always find this very fascinating, I mean, it's actually how we use our skin. And of course the wrinkles shows up where we use them a lot, and you can see the mother also has these up here, and these lines here are also reoccurring, and you see the dad has the deepest lines, and that's just, in a sense, I really think this is beautiful. The way the age is progressing is very natural. It's like a tree trunk growing, whatever. So I think we're there now in terms of finishing up, and now we want to do some of the final things. I'm gonna just want to see what happens if we give it a little bit of powering up. We have to watch that. It brings, there's a bit of levels here. I can see I put that on in the editing in the studio. So I sold this, and you can actually see it looks quite nice in certain places and overdone in other places. So we're gonna bring it a little bit down in the highlight parts because it's too much. We're gonna put gonna just select it here and bring it down a bit. These parts here, just where the highlights parts, because this effect is too strong for the highlighted parts. But it looks good in the hair, but not in the highlighted. Let's just see here. Maybe a little bit less. You can see on the clothes it's also a bit too much. And maybe the hair with more detail. It is a matter of finding where are the details coming up nicest. And you can bring them forth a bit, but it also looks nice that there is shades. And bring it down a bit here also. No, okay. So now I'm actually, when you are at a certain point where you're ready to move on, we've done this part, then I check. I'll go, okay, let's see it from before and after. Is there visual difference? Like, okay, I get the feeling that they're more there, they're more present. I actually like this one a little bit more. It's graphically stronger. The soft version is also nice, but I like this a little bit stronger. It's a bit stronger. Yeah, I'll go with this one. But this is small things here. I wonder what this is. That's a layer which I had some idea with, but it's not really set to anything, so I just remove it. Now, there's one layer here which is putting in some shadow, and that is important. I have to tune that because it brings the whole experience together. It makes the chosen format right. I cropped it to a 7:9 thing, and to make this looks more right, I'm gonna actually make it so that the cropping is gonna look more natural, because I do that by making the shading. I'm just going to bring in a little bit hard, and then I'm going to remove some of it. Let's check some of the hands, make them disappear. There's some hands down here. I want to put some light on that again, and I'm going to use a thinner brush when I put it back in, and it's because that's how light works. You have to make it so that the editing you're using when you are using you're trying to simulate shadings has to be like, what would light do? So you can't just do you have to do something which looks natural, and it's just what would light do? Light would do this. It would not be even in the surface. It would sort of like come in and hit an arm, and it will hit these hands maybe. Yeah, it would. And there's a hand going all the way down here also. Maybe it'll hit that. There's also a hand down here. Let's see if we can bring it back a little bit. Okay. Now, I'm looking at this. I'm also looking at the time. I had this idea that I would try to do videos which is 1 hour and not more, so I'm actually late for my appointment with Destiny. But I'm actually there now, I think. So I'm just gonna go. I have this I ask people which I do this one, this style of photo with, whether or not I can exhibit these, because I dream of one day to make a big exhibition with a big black room and all these people in one-to-one, like real size and super sharp. And then I find it very interesting to look at these people seen from the side, because we react to photos the same way as we react to real people. If these people were looking at you, as they will do in the next video I'm doing, the next video I will show these where the edition where the photo where these people are looking at us, and you'll notice, let's just bring it in for comparison, and you notice when we look at this photo, actually you react a little bit to this photo the same way as you react to real life. These people are looking at you, and after 3 or 4 seconds you tend to go, okay, I've seen your face looking at me now, and you tend to look away. Yeah. So if you hang this on the wall, it will actually take a little bit of your room away, because these guys are looking out in the room, and it actually takes up more of your living room space compared to this. This doesn't take up space in your living room. It actually makes your living room brighter. No, not brighter, but bigger, because you look into a window, into an illusion, and it actually makes it bigger. And you can stare at this type of picture for a very long time, because they don't look back. It's like you're sitting in this train and you just look at these people. You're invisible, and you just look and look and look and look and look. And I'm a professional voyeur in a way, that I get to I get money for looking at people, and well, I just wanted to bring that up. So here we can actually look at these people for a very long time, and we don't have to be intimidated by the fact that they're looking at us. No, we can just stare at them forever, because they don't look back, and that gives a great sense of just looking. I really like that. So I'm happy with this. I think it conveys my intentions for this photo very well. And I think these people will be happy with it. But the reason why I'm still having it on screen is because I am looking for something that I would spot. And I already spotted something now, which is small detail. But I can see the background here is a little bit not pitch black. See that? So I'm wondering if I should just, I know this is probably overkill, but I want to put in an extra layer and just handle that, because it annoys me very slightly. So I'm going to bring up levels. I'm going to punch it black, and I'm not sure that it did something good in general for the picture, but I don't care, because I'm just going to put it here, and then I'm just going to use it as a brush, and then I'm just going to make the darkness, it's just around their faces. It's just because this thing would make the photo slightly better. Not much, but slightly. And sometimes it's these care to details that make you, I mean, you might think that what I do is a bit much, but I also charge a little bit of money for what I do. My customers would agree on that point. But they also need to have something which is really perfect. So I don't know if you can see, it's as I'm taping this, I don't know if you can see the difference. If you just look here and you look just around their faces, there is a sort of not completely black, and now there is completely black. And it's just a little detail. It's just a little nice detail. Now I'm looking at it and I feel fine. I feel okay. That's a wrap. And I'm 10 minutes late on my project here. And I'm gonna go to my closing lines. What am I gonna say of interesting stuff? Nothing. But I have talked to I had customers in the studio today, and I said I'm doing this project with the YouTube videos, and they all went, wow, that's really interesting, and so on, and blah blah blah. So I think there is some interest in this. I think, and that was not people being Photoshop experts or anything like that, but they're just like, those people who are on the pictures are interested in seeing this going through the editing and so on step by step, and it's sort of like I'm doing the editing anyway, so I might as well do a little bit of talking. So and I might be actually I used to have a lot of people. I'm not educated as a photographer. Now I'm side jumping like big time, but I want to bring this up because it is sort of important. I get a lot of people requesting to be educated by me, and this is one way I could do it, because I can't have someone there disturbing my photo sessions by being in training or whatever. I don't want to do that. But I don't mind teaching about what I do, and 30 years of experience is a background for teaching. Now I open the door for the question of how did I become a photographer. I used to have paid jobs. The first one was 18. I actually talked a little bit about that in the previous video. But then I turned up to be responsible for the marketing in a small company, but we had a lot of budget for marketing, and we did TV commercials and advertisement, which were going out to a lot of people and so on. And I ended up doing all the photo work, and I did all the commercials anyway. So when we sold the company, I just, what do you want to do now? And I looked in the mirror, so to speak, and said, I want to do what I do already. I do photography. So that's when I made a press release and said, okay, there's a new photographer in town, and that was my official start. But I actually didn't have a background as such as a photographer, except that I was doing it professionally. And then I had one huge advantage to the Main Street photographers. You see, they were all educated in the analog camera workflow, and I came from digital workflow, and this was just in the advent of the internet. It was just the internet was just coming around, and people were asking, the companies were interested in, can we get some, we want to be on the internet, and that was brand new, and who can do that? And none of the, or very few of the traditional photographers were ready for that. Most of them were probably hoping that the digital thing was just a phase and it would disappear, and it did not. But it was very good for me, because when I entered the market, I was like one of those guys who knew about, okay, so what is the density of a photo when it goes on print, and what is the density of a photo when it goes on screen, and what's the difference, and so on. And most photographers was like, what? And I knew what that was about, and made a huge advantage for me that I was emerging on the scene as a photographer at that specific time. So I was knowledgeable in a field where photographers were generally not knowledgeable, especially the old school, only trained in the dark chamber and so on. Now, I worked in a dark chamber, so I'm not, and the techniques I use here, especially today, for instance, you could say are all possible in a traditional dark room, but they are, if you had to do all the steps I've done, it would be a complete and utter nightmare. You might be able to do one photo like this in a lifetime, because I mean, it's the great thing about Photoshop is that you do one step at a time and then you do the next. But when you are in a dark chamber, you have 15-20 seconds to complete everything, and that's all. That's old time talk and so on. So I used an extra 5 minutes on trying to get to the point where I'll say some finishing lines. I'll just say that I think this is pretty cool, and I think I would, when people in the future will ask me, so it usually like this. I mean, my son really wants to be a photographer. Can he come? Blah, 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 these kind of things. I'll say, look, I've done a YouTube channel where I go really in depth. And I also think the level I will do this on is that I would do it so professional photographers would get a lot of pointers, and those who want to be a professional photographer would definitely get some pointers, because there'll be stuff you can use. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, but I noticed something from the last 2 videos. I seem to just be not able to stop talking, so I guess that is going to be the main issue. How do we keep this guy not talking and not making these very long videos where he just keeps on talking? All right. Anyway, if you're not in a position where you're already subscribed, please do so. And what is that everybody else say? Yes, give it a thumbs up and like if you stayed on to this end of this very long video. And I hope you got something out of watching this editing process. Okay? Take care.